This is Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Well, hello. Hi, Jim Toth. How are you?
Good day.
Still
a good day. I bet yesterday was a magnificent day.
Yesterday was a good day. I wish you were here to join in with me.
I can't believe I wasn't.
It's kind of a big deal.
You know when you go through your head and you're trying to make life work? And you know me.
Doesn't always work.
I've made a lot of decisions that revolve around my sports coverage career.
That is correct.
Some life decisions that probably in hindsight should have put some other things as a priority, but I did not.
No.
But I've come to a point in life where I'm like, I got to get there. I got to get this done. And with everything that's going on at home and the Jets season and stuff, when can I work this in? And then I'm like, well, this is the only weekend for family and kids hockey in the summer and all the stuff and Jets. And I'm like, well, they're up 2-0. I think there won't be a game 7.
It won't go to double overtime. Cole Perfetti won't score with 2.2 seconds left to send the game to overtime.
Kelly Moore was great. I'm like, hey, Kel, on the Wednesday, if it goes to 7, he's like, oh, no problem. Gil Wojcik's right here. He says he'll love to do game 7. I go, yeah, who wouldn't? This guy. Anyway, long story short, I had to get back to Alberta. My parents downsized, had to do some stuff. But what turned out, Cam, in all honesty, and I think that I heard driving back yesterday on Jets at Noon, just the fantastic feeling that 50 years from now, people say, where were you?
Oh, absolutely.
And it turned into one of those things where I was driving back from Alberta yesterday or on Sunday to get to Regina in time to watch the game with my 13-year-old. And we're having this like father-son adventure, left on Saturday, saw my parents, got up Sunday, was driving back. And we get to Regina, right? And we're going through, and then we watch the first period in the hotel because he's like, I go, we'll go somewhere and have dinner and watch the game. And he's like, well, let's watch the first period because it's about to start. And I'm like, fair enough. We didn't want to miss any of the game. First intermission, of course, the vibes aren't that great, right? And so we go to the pub, the lounge where we're going to have dinner and watch, and we're doing this. And he goes, I just Googled Chuck E. Cheese. It's open till 9. Do you mind if we stop there? And I'm like, yeah, sure, buddy. It's kind of a tradition whenever we go through Regina. I'm like, yeah, sure.
It's right off the main drag.
Yes. And so long story short, because I know our listeners don't want to hear my stories, but it has to do with Jets. And so, with 5 minutes left, he's like, well, we're probably going to have an hour. And I'm like, yeah, unless they tie it up. And then he's like, why are they pulling the goalie now? And I'm like, well, you pull it now with 4 minutes. And I go, you hope to get one. And then you put him back in till there's about a minute left, and then you pull him again. Well, they get one, right? And he's like pumped and jacked. And I tell you, Cam, I'll never forget this moment that my son and I'm getting a little emotional here. When Cole Perfetti scored with 1.6 seconds left, he reached across the table and grabbed me and was like, they did it, he tied the game, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I grabbed him back and I'm like, yeah, in a public lounge where everybody in Regina was cheering for the Jets. I was surprised.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and says, we'll never forget where we were right now. And I was just like, I'll miss game 7 every time to have a chance like that with your son, right? So it goes to overtime.
You're getting me, Jim.
The poor waitress comes over and says about 8:15 with about 8 minutes to go in the first overtime, I'm really sorry, I forgot. Miners have to be out of here at 8 p.m. I'm like, what kind of laws is this in Saskatchewan? In Alberta, this kid could have a beer at 13. No, I'm just kidding. So he's like, what? And I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry. And then so we just sat there for a couple minutes, and then it started to drag that second overtime. So I'm like, we better go to the door. I don't want to get this lady in trouble. So we go to the door and we watch the last 4 minutes of the first overtime. Then we leave and he's like, and I go, there's a Boston Pizza down here by the Chuck E. Cheese. So we get there and I'm like, we got 15 minutes. So we went in and he killed about 12 minutes of Chuck E. Cheese games. And then we came out and he sprinted. I mean, this kid's got wheels that he's blessed with, to the Boston Pizza in Regina, walked in. I opened the lounge. I go, is Miners allowed in here? And they're like, no, you got to be 19. Went into the restaurant. There was 2 people in the restaurant. They didn't care about the game, but the game was on. And we sat there again and watched Adam Lowry scored the goal. And so for a guy who's blessed to do what we do and have a chance to be on the broadcast for Game 7 and how I had to do some family things around it, it just turned into a moment that I'm like, if I had to pick one other place to be then helped broadcast that Game 7 pre and post, it was right there with my son. And the idea that we bounced around Regina together, and he was way more emphatic about it than me. And I'm the one who, I've got to see this. I can't go back and, report on this without seeing it, but he was more in it than me, and it just turned out to be a beautiful moment. And that's what I wanted to, when I was listening yesterday driving back and all the fans calling in, no one will ever forget where they were. And Paul Edmonds is going to join me at 1:03 today, and we're going to ask him about the call and where it sits with him now that he's had almost 48 hours to recap it. But it just turned into one of those things. Like I'm sitting there in the lounge getting text after text from my brother and my parents and buddies going, and even buddies here in Winnipeg, like, are you at the game tonight? Like, are you in the, and I'm like, no, I'm sitting in Regina. And it just turned into a beautiful moment that I'll never forget and I'll cherish it with my son for the rest of our lives. And that's just from somebody who covers the game. I don't have a stake in it other than we get more hockey to cover, which is beautiful. Mm-hmm. But for you fans out there listening to this, it's the same when the Bombers won the Grey Cup. And I go back home, or people from across, text me and ask me stuff. And I'm just like, I'm just happy for the fans. You don't know what these Bomber fans have been through. And it's the same for you Jets fans. I can't imagine. I was more worried they lost that game and not been here, because we like to be responsible, that if the team loses, we say it like it is. And if the team wins, we say it like it is. I was more worried they'd lose that game and I wouldn't be here for Jets at noon. But for you Jets fans, I'll wrap this up by just saying I'm so happy for you, and you deserve this. You deserve to get out of the first round. You didn't deserve all the drama that it took and the anxiety, but you got through. And I'm going to let you enjoy it one more day, because tomorrow it's big time trouble. Dallas is locked and loaded. They're getting healthy. We're going to get into how the Jets are doing healthy, but enjoy this, Jets fans, because I am so happy for you that a little bit of a demon was exercised on Sunday.
Yeah, you almost sewered me there, Jim.
Yeah, I guess I did. Where did you watch? You must have been, because I know you're a massive fan.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was like, I talked about this yesterday a little bit. I was in a very dark place after the first period.
I saw that on social media.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I said, I'm not going to reach out to him.
Don't reach out to me. I'm not in a good place. But the second period, I started to feel a lot better just by how they were playing. I was on a blow up because we're trying to get my young guy, 6 months old. We're trying to get him to sleep better. We're trying to improve sleep for him and for us.
Yeah.
So we have a blow up mattress. We only have a 1-bedroom apartment. We have a blow up mattress. So my wife has watched one hockey game since Game 7 of the Stanley Cup with the Oilers and the Panthers. This was the only hockey game she's watched since then. And I was watching it on my phone, and she goes, "Why don't you put it on the big TV?" And I'm like, "Well, you don't really care." And she's like, "Well, put it on the big TV. This is a big game."
Yeah.
So I put it on, and yeah, we sat cross-legged on a blow-up mattress, keeping our cheering as quiet as possible because the baby was sleeping. And that's where I was. And yeah, you're right. I'll always remember that.
That's the thing about it too, Cam. The phone rang when the third period ended. And it was my partner, Alexis, and our other young son, who's 4.5. Should have been in bed an hour ago. He's on the bed with his pajama shirt off, waving it in the crowd. Now, he's a little wilder than my 13-year-old, right? He's a little different. I'll leave that. Yeah. Waving his shirt like this, like just, and I'm just like, because of what I do, my partner follows sports, but does not follow it, if you know what I mean.
Well, my wife's exactly the same. My wife is exactly the same.
This last 3 games, she's riveted. She's texting me, asking me questions about the Jets and stuff, which normally she's got her busy, right? And so it's much to Sky going, put it on the big TV. That's what this last week has been. And that's the beauty of sports. I mock reality TV, like all the dating shows and the housewives of this city, because it's not reality. What you experienced this past week with your Jets, you cannot produce, you cannot fabricate. And that's why I'm so happy for Jets fans, because it's been a long time coming and it's been a lot of heartache, and they haven't won anything yet. I don't want to overemphasize this. This is a long road still ahead, and they're really tough. But just how people like our partners who aren't into sports go, man, it can help pull this out.
It's the unbelievable. It's the script is too unbelievable to write. Where you have Cole Perfetti, a guy snake bitten all series long,
1.6 seconds,
gets a great deflection in, gets the Jets on the board. They cough up bad turnover in the neutral zone. They go down 3-1 before the third period. Going into the third period, they're down 3-1.
You know what I heard in that Regina bar in the last 5 seconds? Ehlers! Ehlers!
Yeah.
Like it was literally people, he fanned on that shot, and I heard from across the lounge, Ehlers! Ah! And then I heard, ah! I couldn't be happier for you Jets fans. It's awesome for you.
Jets at Noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line to win a VIP car wash from my good friends at Wash Method, 204-780-6868. We'll announce the winner later in the program, which is coming at you live from the Boston Pizza studio. Celebrate the whiteout at Boston Pizza, your go-to place for the playoffs. Just be like Jim Toth and his boy there, and watch the game at Boston Pizza.
Boston Pizza Regina, very friendly, very nice.
Well, yeah,
just like here in Manitoba.
Listen. I can go after the Riders all I want. I hate the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but listen, every time I've been to the city of Regina, I've got my good buddy there works at radio station there, does the morning show. Cody, one of my best friends. Every time I go to Regina, I have fun. Well, I am not anti. I like Regina. I have a good time there.
Getting breakfast and gas and the drive-through and switching through the radio station before we left Regina the next Monday morning. It was just there was a lot of the morning shows working in the Jets game. Did you see it? Because it wasn't about the Jets. It was about the 1.6 seconds, the incredible 2 goals in the last 4 minutes. It just you'll always remember. Let's take a break. Let's come back on the other side. Hey, we have big news here coming from the. Well, it was supposed to be an optional. It was described as an optional practice that started at noon. It's turned into near full participation. We have an update on Josh Morrissey. We have an update on Mark Scheifele, and we have an update on Logan Stanley. We'll give you that information when we come.
JOB.
We're 6 games into the playoffs, and he took a puck outside the crease, and now he's a villain. But I expected that when I got up this morning. It just still surprises me, fellas. Like there were far more egregious collisions in that game last night, but we won't be talking about those, I would imagine, today. Honest to God, I mean, I've seen every hit that Sam Bennett's thrown since he was 12 years old on TV this morning. I get it. Go ahead, run with it. We're good.
That's Paul Maurice.
Passive-aggressively
head coach
telling us to stop talking about
Florida Panthers. Sam Bennett, again, will not face supplemental discipline for his chicken wing that he put on head of Leafs netminder, put to the head of Leafs netminder Anthony Stolarz while he was skating across the top of the crease. Stolarz was seriously injured from this. Was reportedly vomiting on the bench. Went to hospital on a stretcher. He's now out of hospital, but certainly a question mark this series. What are your thoughts on this, Jim?
Well, again, you know how I feel. They don't care, right? I don't know why a phone call isn't. I mean, appease everybody. Hey, Sam, we need a phone call. Here's $1,500. Here's $2,500. Don't chicken wing, guys. Okay, you didn't mean it. Fine. Or just, no, fine. Here's a phone call. Be careful. Don't do that. Why nothing? And then the whole Paul Maurice. Now, I will say this, Cam. I think the shot that he took off the mask had a little bit to do with this. Mm-hmm. I think it's both blows. I'm not trying to alleviate anything from Sam Bennett, but I think both blows has.
I think that's fair.
That's why you have concussion spotters. I don't want to take him out of a playoff game in the first period, but you take a shot off the melon like that, I don't know how you don't have somebody check you. But again, if they cared more, but Paul Maurice is just an exercise. It's Montgomery, right? Let's be clear. This is where Scheifele got hurt. You have no clue when Scheifele got hurt. And Paul Maurice going, I've seen every hit, blah, blah. It's your narrative. Let's run with it. It's not a narrative. He knocked him out of the game.
Mike McIntyre from the Free Press will be with us when we come back, and we'll tell you the status of Josh Morrissey and Mark Scheifele when we come back. Jets at Noon, brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. The VIP take on the text line and win a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method, 204-780-6868. And there's a little something exciting going on with our good friends down there at Wash Method.
Yeah, Justin reached out to me with this unique opportunity. They are going to give away a pair of Loge tickets for Game 2 of the Jets Stars series Friday night. All you have to do is post to their social media after you do a wash with them. So you go through Wash Method, you post to their Instagram on social media, and you're entered. They'll do a draw at the end of the week and give away 2 Loge tickets, courtesy of Wash Method, to this Friday's Game 2.
So you get romance from Wash Method.
Yeah.
Because you're going to leave
that place. You don't get it from them. You go there, and the romance is just...
It just happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get that, plus Jets. That's your whole evening.
Yeah, we don't want to say you go there and you get romance. It's just there.
Well, sometimes it creates
Like
itself,
it's not
Jim.
strawberries back in the day, from what I understand.
Sometimes it just comes out of the woodwork.
It's not the pal on a Thursday night. It's just there. They don't provide it, is what I'm saying.
Oh, the Palomino.
But you get a clean car. There's romance with the suds and the colors, the purple.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
the moving car.
Manitoba's Niagara Falls. And if you post to their social media after you got a chance to win 2 tickets to Friday's Jets
and those
Stars
loge, that's one of the best places to watch is in those loge seating too as well.
Oh, it is. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Also, we're coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio. Celebrate the whiteout at Boston Pizza, your go-to place for the playoffs. Jim, so Kelly Moore is down at Canada Life Center for the optional skate, the optional practice, which is what it was defined as, but it's near full participation at this practice. Josh Morrissey and Logan Stanley were out there early. They were both in non-contact jerseys, as was Mark Scheifele. He was also out there in a non-contact jersey. Morrissey and Scheifele are not skating with the main group. We're not out there skating with the main group. Scheifele is. And Fleury is with DeMello, that from Kelly Moore down there. So Morrissey and Stanley were out there participating in the practice, but were not skating with the main group, while Scheifele was, all three of them in non-contact jerseys. Jim, what do you think about that? And Fleury was with DeMello. Hayden Fleury was with DeMello.
I thought Fleury had a fantastic Game 7. And when I was discussing with my 13-year-old, who's a defenseman himself, I said, well, I think they want a little more offense out of this. And then I think Stanley's banged up. So clearly he is. But I think this isn't a conundrum like most people. Who do you start, Fleury or Stanley? I think it's a beautiful option that they can now trust Hayden Fleury fully, not that they didn't before, in a playoff game. I thought he was fantastic. And I heard your point yesterday about grade A plus penmanship bonus points for Neil Pionk, who is outstanding.
Yeah.
But I think it's great. But I don't know. To me, Morrissey upper body looked like a shoulder. And we mentioned this, I think, in game 4 or 5. He went to make a pass out of his own end, and it went down the rink for icing, and the caller called in, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. I think he's hurting. And then I think he is hurting even more after that Game 7, clearly because he left. So I don't know about Scheifele and Morrissey for Game 1. If I had to bet, I would say they don't go.
It's more positive that Scheifele is participating in the main group.
Yes.
They still have another day. Now, I would say...
Concussion protocol is usually 7 days.
Yeah. The non-contact jerseys are interesting, though, because there's been...
Not the saying that he's got a concussion. I don't know.
Yeah.
If it is that, it's usually 7 days.
Yeah, the non-contact jerseys have been interesting this playoffs because we've seen Nikolai Ehlers shed one, get in. We've seen Velarde shed it, but still stay out another game. So I think this is all. I think when they say day to day and game time decision, Jim, I don't think that that's necessarily gamesmanship. I genuinely think it is a game time decision here. So I think
so do I.
We'll wait the latest from Scott Arniel, and if there's any more news as to what's going on and what we could see from the lineup here, but things are up in the air. Things are up in the air, and there's things that are day to day, and we're gonna have to wait and see. But I would say it is positive that all of them were out there participating in practice to some extent. Now Morrissey again and Stanley not with the main group. Scheifele was, but them being out there part of the practice, definitely a positive.
What do you think here? They're getting Heiskanen and Robertson back, right? We're going to find out tomorrow. We're going to be at Canada Life Center again for Jets at noon.
For an extended Jets at noon. It's going to be an extended show.
Longer. And we're going to hopefully get the voice of the Stars, and Mitchell Clinton's going to join us, so we'll tee up the game more. But, they're going to play closer to vest just like the Jets are, right? They're going to skate a little later, but find out. But, this Stars team is...
Now, the Jets have beaten them this year 3 out of 4 times. And over those games, they've outscored the Stars 13-5.
I do think they match up.
Now, the regular season does not mean anything. I'm not leaning on that, but I'm saying the Winnipeg Jets can certainly win this series, and they can win it. They could win it tight. You know what? The thing I'm most interested to see in Jim is you saw how each series kind of develops its own sort of characteristics, its own personality, and the one with the St. Louis Blues was just physicality, right? It was all about physicality, every ounce of the ice contested. And I expect some of that to be in the series coming up against Dallas. I don't think it's going to be necessarily as physical as the series against St. Louis, but I'm looking forward to finding out what the characteristics of this series are. Like what's going to be the thing that a team is going to have to differentiate themselves over 7 games here. And that's what I'm curious. I'm not sure how it's going to go. You know, what is each team going to clue in on? What's the difference going to be?
I do think they match up better with the Stars and the Avalanche. I don't know why I felt that way, and I think the Stars really, if they get Robertson back and Heiskanen, and the way Rantanen's playing and Wyatt Johnson, and the real key here to me, Cam, and you know this because we've talked a lot off air about this. I'm waiting for Jake Ottinger last year and this year to do what Connor Hellebuck did around 27 years old.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it until the playoffs. Even when they lost to Colorado in that series, he's on his game. He's finally dialed it in. And that's where he first made a name for himself, was a couple of years ago in a great 7-game series against the Calgary Flames, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting matchup. U.S. goaltenders again. And then the injuries, like I'm not trying to make excuses already, but when you beat the Colorado Avalanche without Jason Robertson and Miro Heiskanen, and then you beat the St. Louis Blues without Scheifele and Morrissey and a banged up Ehlers, you don't have to
Velarde's not 100% either.
You don't have to have your A game without those, but I don't know if they start the series. Maybe Scheifele does.
Yeah.
If he's skating with the regular group, which is a big help. But depth is going to have to come through. And I know people, look, we saw that, right? They needed some secondary scoring. They got it eventually in the series by game 5, game 6, stuff like that. This defense core, though, it's not a lost story, but it needs to be a bigger one. Those 5 defensemen and the job they did in that game 7 and the 2 overtimes that's historic to me. And then you run down the names, right? I'm not disrespecting any of them. But the DeMellos, the Pionks, the Fleuries and stuff, the Sandbergs, it really is a remarkable thing they did. So they can lock it down, right? And that's why I think they're a better matchup for Dallas, because I think they've matched up with them and have a style that they can defend against Dallas a little bit better than the speed of Colorado. Not that Dallas isn't fast, but I just think the speed of, game 7 against Dallas, McKinnon jumps over the bench and he's gone, right? The Jets, for some reason, have a hard time with that. This is still going to be tough, but I do think they match up a little bit better with Dallas. But on paper, this is why we spent the first segment talking about game 7. That's the unknown. Mm-hmm. How this team comes out of that. Monkey off the back, all the cliches. Now, they lose in 5 games. People are going to go, well, that didn't do anything for them. And fair enough. But you also can't quantify that the fashion in which they won that game 7 without 2 of their biggest stars can really get a team to go, we can do this again, and this is how we have to do it. And when we get those guys back, we might be able to do a little bit more, but this is the plan on how we can beat the Stars.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that I don't think the Jets can win with Connor Hellebuck playing like he did against St. Louis. That's the big thing.
No, he can't. You're very right. Lost in his struggles of a bad goal a game.
Yeah.
And I still think that the team in front of him, but he did have a bad goal a game. And he admitted he wasn't at his optimal. He has to be at his optimal. He
can't be outdueled by Ottinger. Because he was like, you can't argue that Jordan Binnington was the better goaltender in that series. He was, 100%.
You can go toe-to-toe and be equally as good, but you're right. You cannot, against this Dallas team, get a bad goal.
No.
And I think in a 7-game series, you're going to have a bad goal, but I mean nightly. You can't have one bad goal a night.
No, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the big thing. Like I think if Connor Hellebuck can play like he did in overtime, where he was just you saw his body language change. Like, you just saw him in the net, and it was just like he was not letting that goal in.
Well, it's that interview you ran yesterday, and Richard Kluche ran with Scott Oak. Yeah. And he just said, what did you think when Perfetti scored? And he goes, well, this is our series, and we got to lock it down. It's like a switch, right?
His confidence came back immediately.
This is the problem, and I'm not trying to bring up old stuff and harp on people or say, I told you so. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that's why you play him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No disrespect to Eric Comrie whatsoever. But at some point you hope a moment like that happens where something clicks and whatever he's struggling with, whether it's confidence or the idea of the playoffs or the monkey on the back, whatever it is, you have to play your best players and hope that it happens. And whatever it is happened when Perfetti tied that game. And then it was, did you think he was going to let in a soft one?
No, I didn't.
There was points where I thought they might lose this game in overtime, but it ain't going to be a soft one.
Yeah.
And it ain't going to be one he should have had because you could just see it. And that's why you start him. That's why you don't pull him when it's 2-0. And that's why you keep playing him. They might have lost that game 5-0 and we'd be having a different conversation.
Yeah. But
my mind, and I think most coaches' minds, is you have to give them, you hope it happens. It might not, but when you have a player of that caliber, you've got to run with it.
You can't take him out.
You've got to run with it and hope it happens, and it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's coaching, man.
I
would love to pull coaches that said at 2-0, what do you do? And I bet you half of them pull them and half of them don't.
Yeah.
That's coaching. You have to know your guys. You have to know your players. And even running them out there, and we had the calls start calming, I'm like, no way.
Yeah. No, there was the Jets went out with their documentary, the Runway series. And it was, of course, about Game 7. And there was a moment between Arniel and Connor Hellebuck where Arniel grabbed his helmet and looked at his face, and I think he said something to him. And I think it might have had an expletive in it, if I can read his lips there. But it was a moment of joy between the two of them, and it was a measure of respect between those two guys here. But this from Mitchell Clinton at practice. There was no line rushes today, but Scheifele is part of the conversation involving one of the power play units. He was playing with Pionk, Connor, Velarde, Ehlers, and Scheifele. Those five were together during the practice there for the power play. So I think that might be another indicator that Mark Scheifele might be back tomorrow. Of course, everything we're gonna find it out as things go along here. Dallas had a big moment too. Like they came back from down 2-0 in the third period. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not like that. There's not a galvanizing moment for them. It's not as epic. It's not as epic as the Jets. There's no doubt about that.
I have another story about that. I'm at my parents' assisted living thing on Saturday night. They just downsized last summer, and we're sitting there. And so they want to go down the hall. In the third period, it's 2-0. I'm like, okay. And we go down the hall, and I'm meeting some of their neighbors and stuff. And my son comes running down the hall, and he's like, it's 3-2. And I'm like, what? And we rush back to the room and watch that. Game 7 and how that unfolded, right? And what a story that is with Rantanen and everything that happened there too. But the whole weekend for somebody who was pretty busy was just about Game 7s and epic comebacks and stuff like that. But what a comeback by them. But that just, again, these are so few and far between. I don't know if that's going to happen in these rounds.
Well, here's the thing. And just to go back to your point of depth and the belief in all that, the Jets, I saw this on X. 815 save percentage, 4 games without Velarde, 5 without Ehlers, 2 without Scheifele, 1 without Morrissey, and Nemesnikov as your first center in Game 7. And that was from the NHL Burner Boy. We put that out there on X. I don't know if he was the original one to say that, but that was the first time that I read that. And that's an important piece here. Right. It's to go back on what you were saying there, Jim, is that there's these guys, it's about getting through adversity. They went through a heck of a lot of adversity in that series.
Yeah.
And they're beaten up, they're bruised, but so is every other team. And it does not get any easier from here on out. Okay, you get through Dallas. Okay, let's live in a world where they beat the Dallas Stars. Then it's Vegas. We all know how things have gone against
Edmonton.
Vegas. Or you're going up against the Edmonton Oilers and Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, right?
But we always knew this, though. Like I will push back a bit, and I agree with Leah Hexel was on the station yesterday. Other people, the first round's the toughest because you get your confidence, right?
Yeah.
And then now, I don't think you're going to see a game where somebody's scoring 7 goals in the second round.
Call the Boston Pizza Jets at noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Celebrate at Boston Pizza, Canada's go-to place for the playoffs. The number one caller will receive a $50 gift card to Boston Pizza on Friday. Did you hear Alistair's call yesterday?
I don't know if I heard Alistair.
Did you hear that?
I heard Neil Boskair. Good to hear from Neil.
Well, no, because this is the guy that everybody's got to beat. This is the one that, like, if you got to beat Alistair's call here to get the $50.
Holy boys, I'm going through a lot of emotions right now. Just bought my first pack of smokes in like 3 years. Gearing up for overtime.
I don't know if anybody's going to beat that one.
I listened to that in a hotel room in Regina. I listened to that while I was listening to the post game.
I think Alistair's got the $50 rocked for Boston Pizza. We'll be right
pack
back.
Of smokes in 3 years.
Alistair. Playoffs will drive you to some crazy things.
At noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Well, our VIP text today is from Eric. Eric said, "Good morning, guys. I am a business owner at Deacon's Corner where I've come across people from across the country every day. At work yesterday morning, 2 older gentlemen who are big Habs fans from Nova Scotia, traveling from BC, stopped in for gas. They told me that it worked out that they picked up tickets for yesterday's game. They said they've been to over 1,000 NHL games in different cities, mostly at the Bell Center. They said that they never experienced anything close to what happened in all their years in Game 7. The crowd never gave up. It was so loud, something they couldn't believe. I was so proud that I got a little emotional and felt a great sense of pride talking to these guys. Lifelong Jets fans. Go, Jets, go." Thanks for that text, Eric. It was enough for you to win a VIP car wash from my good friends at Wash Method. Miss your chance to get your thoughts on the show today. Call the Boston Pizza Jets at noon hotline, open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Celebrate at Boston Pizza, Canada's go-to place for the playoffs.
Great story.
Extended show tomorrow. We're going to be down at Canada Life Center. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get Mike McIntyre to join us then. He's not working so hard.
Yeah. Just, hey, listen, there were some things that got delayed. But this just coming down, it's not by far nothing. It's just the way things worked out. Couldn't get Mike on. We'll try to get him on later this week. But Mitchell Clinton said, head coach Scott O'Neill says Scheifele, Morrissey, and Stanley are all day today. He adds that Scheifele skated yesterday. It was the first time on the ice for Morrissey and Stanley. So game time decision. Jim Toth will take you all the way to 2 o'clock. Thank you very much, Jeffrey Fortier, for boosting the show. That's it for me. Be back same time tomorrow, game day. See ya.